Hello everyone, today we're going to be taking a look at the Pretender gem. This is going to allow you to log in as another user in your application and see what they see. So let's say you have an admin account, you have a user that's running into an issue, you can then use the Pretender gem to like sudo log in as that user. You'll see everything that user would see, and you'll then be able to like sort of diagnose what's wrong while you're still on an admin account. So if there's like individual admin actions that you still want to like have visible, then you can do that. So let's say like the ability to make a post visible, you leave that button there that has an admin check. It'll still show up when you're logged in as like the true admin, but you'll also see what that user sees. So like you go into their post history or whatever, and there's a post that's not visible because it's been deleted or something, but you don't actually delete it, you just mark it as deleted. You could then like use the admin button to undelete that post, which is actually just unhiding it for that user. Something like that. It's just a bunch of really nice functionality. And this also pairs really well with another gem I'm going to be covering in a little bit here, which is the audit gem. So that's going to allow you to see who's been impersonating users and stuff like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to add Devise to an application, something like this. We'll then use the Pretender gem to just, log in. So you can see here, we logged in as an admin. It says deanin@example.com. That's the admin account. We can go over to the admin panel, which just has a list of our users. I can then log in as one of these. Look, I'll sign in as Jane Doe. And you can see here, it says you're an admin still, but you also see hello jane@doe.com. So when you're logged in, it displays your email right here. And then down here, you can see you, dean@example.com, are signed in as jane@doe.com. So this is using the true user, and this is using the current user right here. So something like that. This is a very simplified example. You'll obviously have to customize this to whatever functionality you would like, but let's go ahead and let's just do this real quick. All we have to do is make a new Rails project. I'll call it video. Then we can CD into it, and then we can run a code dot to open it up in VS Code. Now we will get started. So we have to add two gems. One's going to be bundle add for Devise, and the other one will be the Pretender gem. We can do that. We can then go ahead and we can start doing our Rails G Devise :install, and then we have to do our Rails G Devise user commands. Finally, let's do a Rails G migration because we want to add the role to the user. The role will be of type integer. This is how we can add the admin functionality. We've covered the enums before. Oops, wrong direction. We've covered the enums before. They'll let you do this, so we'll just kind of gloss over this. There's other videos on YouTube that do that, but we'll just say this is going to have an enum for the role, which will be admin and user, but we actually want it to be user :0 and then admin :1, something like that. And I think that's it for the users here. So that'll give us the ability to do that. But now let's go ahead and let's seed our database real quick. Let's come into DB and seeds because we need to create the users that we're going to be logging into, and I don't want to do that manually. To do that, I'm going to go ahead and copy this right here, and then we'll just paste it in. We start by destroying all our users. We then create the 3 user accounts, one of which is an admin. We'll leave this as like dean@example.com. And then we have 2 users, John and Jane, which are both the role of user here. It's kind of hard coded, of course. You'd probably want to change it to use like the enum itself, but you get the idea. Let's go ahead and let's do a Rails DB :migrate to migrate our database, make sure that's working. Then we can do a DB :seed to seed our database, and that should also be working. You can test this by coming into our Rails console, doing user.first. You can see the role is already set to admin right here, but we can also do user.first.admin ? And that'll return true. So our roles are now working. So let's deal with the Pretender gem. The first thing we have to do is come into our, our controllers, our application controller, and we want to say this impersonates user, just like that. That takes care of the application controller. Next, we need to come into our routes, which is inside of config and routes.rb. And inside of our routes, we want to set up a couple of things. So let's do a controller for a page's homepage real quick. That'll get added to our routes. Let's change this get to a root, and the / to a hash, just like we normally do. We can then do a Rails G controller, and we probably want to do something like a user's controller with an index action, something like that. Go ahead and run that. Now, if we look at the README here, they're going to tell us to create specific routes, which are going to look like this. It's going to be resources for users, but only for the index action. So we come over to our get for the users. And I'm actually going to just remove this, and we'll do this right above our devise. We're going to do a resources for users, only an index, and then we do a post to impersonate on member. We do a post to stop impersonating on collection. This will then create the routes that we need in order to do our impersonations inside of our users controller. So let's come up to our users controller and let's flesh this out real quick. First thing we want to do in here is authenticate our user, because of course this is going to be the admin panel, so we want to make sure we're authenticating. We can then go ahead and we can do a require admin method. We're going to do this down below everything else. We'll set up a private, we'll do a def for require admin, and we say redirect if true user is not an admin. So this functionality can actually change depending on what you want. So what do I mean by that? Well, we can do this. If you want your admin tools to be visible or not, that's going to change how you're going to do this redirect. So you can see here, this one will not let you see admin tools when impersonating a normal user. So we'll go with this one. We'll say, all right, we're impersonating, so we're going to go with a redirect to root path with a notice, go away, you're not the, you're no admin unless the current user.admin. This is going to make it so that when you click on the link to go to the admin panel from your homepage, this admin panel button right here, you won't be able to visit it because your current user is janedoe.com and she's not an admin. If you want to be able to access it, there's another way to do that. We can add in the comments real quick if I copy them. That is going to be this line right here where we redirect to root path unless true user.admin. So if the true user is an admin, they will then be able to click on the admin panel, even if they are listed as janedoe.com, who's not an admin. So we're going to go ahead and leave this commented out for now, and then we'll play around with the other option in a minute here. To actually test all of this, though, we need to set up our actions. Our index is just going to be a @users equals user.all. Our impersonate is going to be a user equals user.find. We then call impersonate user, and we redirect to the root path. The final thing we do is we say stop impersonating, which is just going to call stop impersonating user, and then we redirect to the root path. You can, of course, change where this redirects you to as well. Now that we have that, let's come over to our index page. Let's come over to app, views, and it's going to be users and our index page in our users. What we want to do in here is just say users.each do user, and then we want to have a sign in as link to the user.email. Call impersonate user path, which again is going to be this impersonate right here. And then we do a method of post, although I don't think this is required, but you do probably need the data turbo method post now because we're in Rails 7. Now that we have that, let's come over to our pages and our home page to finish up. So in our home page, what we want to do, let's first get rid of all of this. Let's start with a p tag for our notices so that we can see whenever we get an error. Again, not the best way to do this, but it's just how we're going to do it right here. We'll do a if current user. So if we are logged in with Devise, we just want to say hello current user.email, and then we want to have our log out button. We can then do a else, and then we can come down here and do our end real quick. In our else, what we want to do is just say, let's do something like this, a home h1, and then a thing that says sign in with a login button, right? So that takes care of our current user check. Then we want to say if the current user, it does not equal our true user, we then want to do something like this. We'll say HR, add a horizontal divider, you, true user.email, are signed in as current user.email. And then we can add in our link that says link back to the admin page, and then stop impersonating users path with a method of post, but actually I think this needs to be the turbo method, right? Something like that. So we have that. We can then do a end here, and then we can come down here and we can add in one last thing for our admin panel. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at what this looks like. Let's do a Rails S real quick. We'll refresh this page. We'll click sign in. I'll sign in as the admin first. Something like this. And we can see we have the admin panel button here. I can click on it. It'll take me to the admin panel itself. I can now impersonate john@doe.com. That'll work just fine. But now as john@doe.com, because of how our controller is set up, and I think we have it set up so we're checking based on current user, I won't be able to go to the admin panel because John can't go to the admin panel because we're checking if the current user.admin. If we change this to check based on the true user.admin, that's going to check based on this true user, which is dean@example.com, who's an admin. Now, if I click on this, I'll be able to go back to the admin panel, even though I'm still impersonating John. And you can also use the true user check anywhere else where you want to do the admin functionality, and then you can have it so that the like signed in fake user doesn't even see links like this, right? So you just do a quick check if the current user.admin right here, and then they wouldn't even see this. You could do the true user.admin, and then you could make it so that if you're a true user, you do see this or something. Oh, if we click back to admin, it should sign us out, but actually it's telling me there's no route that matches delete. So I probably need to change this to post. This should be a post request. So let's go ahead and let's save this, refresh, hit enter. Now if I click back to admin, it should take us back to dean@example.com, and we can go back to the admin account just like you would expect. So that is the full impersonation workflow. You impersonate Jane, you do whatever you need to. In this case, I can come back to the admin panel, and then whenever you're done impersonating, you go back to admin, and then you log out of that like impersonated account, and you're back into your actual true admin account. And at any point, if you want to use the true admin account for some functionality, it's true_user. And if you want to use your regular user functionality, it's just going to be current user. And it's pretty much that easy to set up. Anyways, I hope this was informative and helpful, and I hope I will see you in the next video.